आसिबा संपूर्ण खबर को केन्दुझर जिले में पुणी जननी जंत्रणा रास्ता नथिबारु गाँ को आम्बुलांस जाई परिला नहीं 12 घंटा अपेक्षा पर 4 किलोमीटर रास्ता खटरे बुहा हेले गर्भवती डाक्तरखाना नेबा बाटरे आम्बुलांस भितरे एक पुत्र संतान प्रसव करिसेंती महिला जनक पर महिला को जिला मुख्य चिकित्सालय भर्ती करा जायछि। एभली घटना घटिछि जिलार बांसपाल ब्लॉक उपर रायगड़ा पंचायत छड़ाडीही गाँव लुल्लु देहरी स्त्री पद्मिनी देहरी गत सोमवार दिन राति गर्भ जंत्रणा होता। एने परिवार लोके आम्बुलांस को खबर देते हेले रास्ता खराब जोगु आम्बुलांस टी आसीपारि नथिला। बाध्य होई गर्भवती को खटियारे 4 किलोमीटर आनिथिले स्थानीय लोके। सेठारो आम्बुलांस जोगे आनिबा परे केन्दुझर मुख्य चिकित्सालय भर्ती करा जायछि। मां और शिशु उभय सुस्थ थिबा जणा पड़िछि। मोदी हटाओ देश बंचाओ स्लोगान दे ट्रेड यूनियन गुड़िक पक्षर दिया 2 दिनिया बंद डाकरारे जाजपुर जिले में अनुभूत होईछि। केंद्र सरकार श्रमिक मारणा नीति को विरोध करी विभिन्न श्रमिक संगठन पक्षर दिया बंद डाकरा जोगु गाड़ी मोटर चलाचल बंद रही। सेपरी बैंक पोस्ट ऑफिस सरकारी कार्यालय सह केतेक दुकान बंद रही। एही बंद जोगु दूर दूरांतर आसुथबा लोके बहु असुविधार सम्मुखीन हेउछंती।
सुदीप्त कुमार पंडा ये ट्रेड यूनियन बंद डाकरा संपूर्ण विफल। भारत वर्ष रे नरेंद्र मोदी नेतृत्व में गोटे दृढ़ संकल्प नहीं पारुथुवा सरकार चली जन कल्याणकारी सरकार चली गाँ गहली गरीब लोकंकर उन्नति पाई योजना उपरे योजना क्रियान्वयन होउची। याकू प्रतिरोध करिया पाई निर्वाचन पाखे आसतिबारु किछि असाधु व्यापारी ये मेंट विरोधी दलर प्ररोचन ये बंद डाकरा दिखाई।
गाड़ीगड़ा केंद्र ट्रेड यूनियन जो 2 दिन डाकरा देछि सेति आम बाध्य होइके बंद करछु। आमर गाड़ीगड़ा बंद करिवार उद्देश्य नुहे किंतु गाड़ी चलिले कोठी
पंचदश अर्थ कमिशन को आगरे 5टी प्रमुख दाबी उपस्थापन करिछि ओडिशा। टिकस अनुदान 42% रु 50% को वृद्धि शेष और सराजाशेष वृद्धि 1971 रे जनगणना आधार रे ओडिशा को अनुदान प्रदान करिबा जीएसटी क्षतिपूरण 10 वर्ष को वृद्धि सहित खणी अंचल रे क्लीन एनर्जी शेष को विनियोग करिबा पई मुख्यमंत्री दाबी करिसेंती। ए विषय अधिक जानिबा पई आबे सीधा सड़क जिबा मेफर को
and how to really take Orissa in the direction of making this also a manufacturing hub, which will create jobs and which will enable Orissa to really maximize on its important factor endowments, principally its rich mineral potential. Thereafter, we had interactions today fully with the Honorable Chief Minister, with the Finance Minister and other senior colleagues, with representatives of the state government, and that was very enriching to the commission too. So what's the take back which the commission really is going to consider in the coming months? Also, I think by way of background, let me just say that Orissa is, correct me Arvind, it is the 15th. Orissa is the 16th state that the commission has so far visited. We have still a long way to go. We will be obliged to submit our report towards the end of this year for enabling this to be fully factored in the budget of 20, and really thereafter for these recommendations to be implemented over the next 5 fiscal years from 20 to 25. So I think in that context, our work is more than halfway through, and I think some of the problems of Orissa are not dramatically different than the problems of some of the other states which do not form part of the very large developed states really we have encountered. So the 4 or 5 big takes which I have as far as Orissa is concerned, and then I'm willing to answer some questions on the general overall Indian overall scenario as far as the Commission is concerned. But first let me deal very briefly with Odisha. First, I think Odisha has had the benefit of continued political stability with an enlightened political leadership, where the leadership is quite aligned to improving the growth potential of this state. Very significant progress has been made in reducing poverty, although poverty numbers still continue to be significantly higher than the average all India poverty numbers. In terms of per capita income too, there has been a significant improvement in the per capita income, but still it has a long way to go before it catches up to the national average per capita income. In terms of the social indicators of progress, in spite of the very significant improvement in many health indices, there are some health indices where more progress is required. Strengthening, of course, that in terms of the total number of medical colleges, improving the average availability of doctors per segment of population. Right now, the availability of one doctor for 8 to 10,000 people is not the kind of picture which would be really, which is a welcome picture. So increasing the number of functioning medical institutes, changing and fine-tuning regulatory structures which will enable more doctors, paramedics along with doctors, making primary health centers more accountable, a system of compulsory auditing and reporting to improve the working of primary health centers, and of course for higher levels of medical education and the number of medical colleges to be significantly improved. This is an area on which there was a convergence of view between the state government and the Commission. Similarly, in respect of the in respect of the indices on education, whereas in terms of access and so on, remarkable progress has been made in terms of improving the overall literacy ratio. Nonetheless, in improving the outcomes particularly at higher secondary and upper primary and other higher education, a lot more needs to be done if one were to really look to the last ACER report on the annual status of education, which is published by the NGO. So recognize that in terms of the social indices, notwithstanding great progress, much more needs to be done. In terms of growth rates, Odisha has achieved for several years growth rates significantly higher than the national averages of 10% plus, but it has exhibited significant volatility and a lack of consistency in very long term in growth trends, with some 1 or 2 years the growth dipping well below acceptable levels. It could be on account of the natural calamity and natural disasters, and this could be one particular mitigating factor. But maintaining high trend rates of economic growth, which translates itself on a sustained increase in per capita income, and therefore in terms of poverty numbers, is an area where they will focus further. In the area of agriculture, an enormous amount of effort is going in to improving the reach of irrigated area, lift irrigation, and other innovative agricultural practices. But nonetheless, the Commission brought out that much more needs to be done by way of crop diversification and in terms of improving yields on rice and other crops which are currently being grown. And since the contribution of the primary sector continues to be large, this is an area where I think we would be happier to see much greater and more significant progress. On the overall story of the factor endowments, we all know that Odisha has over 72% of India's mineral resources, but the contribution of the manufacturing sector in relation to its mineral resources continues to be rather modest, and the primary sector is still important, and the tertiary sector is really to really take off with there have been much greater improvements in the services sector. On overall financial management and metrics, it has to be given to the credit of the state government, and they have done a commendable exercise in improving their financial parameters significantly.
आपण मैंने देखुले भुवनेश्वर मेफेयर होटेल सीधा प्रसारण पंचदश अर्थ कमिशन आगे ओडिशा तार 5टी प्रमुख दाबी उपस्थापन करिछि जार सीधा प्रसारण आपण देखुले। जिला खबर समय होइछि एक ब्रेक पर देखिबा आ किछ खबर।